Three guys who combined to play 15 seasons in the National Football League trenches. Well, two guys. And Mackey, who didn't do shit. This is the O-Line Committee.
All right. Oh, we're out of order here. Let's put Jay in
Fix
the middle.
it.
Did you get the retainer back in, or do we need to?
I got the retainer in. I did not get the rubber band in. It was close. You give me time. You just were like, "Hey, here we go." I was like, "Oh shit." Okay.
No, you can't give me any time to put that shit.
Hold on.
Hold on, you guys.
See what happens? Oh God, I leave for one day.
We're in. We're ready.
Stir frying my choppers. You know.
This is us. This is us.
Hey, Boone.
So,
How's this sound? How's
Fall
that?
off a cliff. Hope you fall off a cliff.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
no
Keep making
idea.
fun of me. Yeah.
I have
Keep
no
making fun of me.
idea. I just realized I have nothing to chew on.
Oh no.
It's gonna be a long episode.
Booney's been grinding, to say the least. He gave up all his vices at once for Lent.
Wait. You
All of
gave up
them.
everything for Lent?
All his vices. Every single one of them.
You know, about 15 years ago, I gave up Lent for Lent, and it was the best decision I ever made. All the vices.
I don't even know how to respond to that other than you are amazing.
I gamed the system.
I'll just say that we had a call the other day, and once we got off the call, the other person we were on the call with called me and goes, "Hey, is Boone okay?" He goes, "Is he depressed? Is something wrong?" I go, he's withdrawing. He'll be fine."
Dude, that first week was so bad.
Dude,
I'm not gonna lie.
With him at like 3 p.m. He's like, I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? He's like, I'm just so tired.
Wait, so like
tired.
energy drinks?
Everything. Energy
Go through
drinks,
the list.
coffee.
Go through the list.
Energy drinks, coffee, iced tea, sweets, dip, and
I thought you only give up like one vice for Lent. Wait, who
everything.
Who tricked you into giving up all your vices?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I feel great. It took me a while, but I feel good.
Where's my bell?
How many? Here, I'll get you.
That's a lie.
How many milligrams of caffeine are you now down from pre-Lent
Oh god.
per day?
Oh man, I mean, how many? I mean, you're talking about at least 2 coffees.
There's like
a day,
200
2
in
Ventis
a
a day,
can of.
2 Venti dark roast a day.
You and Dan Campbell.
bunch of sweet tea, a bunch of iced tea.
Tons of Arnie Palmer's all day, and then I mean, dude, it's easily a can and a half a day. I'm not gonna lie though, the hardest part's gonna be to stop that dipping thing, because even though I'm like done, it's still
there.
like I want to do it really bad. It's bad. I know.
All right.
Oh,
You'll be
so
all right.
You're gonna,
We believe
you're gonna
in
grind through this thing here.
It's okay.
We're back at full strength. You guys, man, the last couple episodes, you guys you've come through for the O-line committee. So we appreciate you guys with the audience numbers. And let's start. We're gonna do a few things. We'll get back to Meet in the A Gap, the world popular new segment that we debuted a couple weeks ago.
Big fan.
We got some dumb football questions. We'll get you your weekly Aaron Rodgers drama update here, because Boone, you missed our conversation last week, so we got to let Boone talk about that. But the first mic here, and by the way, click that like button and the subscribe button on the O-Line Committee YouTube channel if you haven't already, and you can help us grow on the audio side. 5-star rating, positive review. So first mic is the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
Who decided Joe Burrow has been putting out the warning signs for weeks and months saying we better spend some actual money here. So they go out and they give Godfather contracts to JaMarr Chase, $40+ million a year. And T. Higgins was like 30, 28, 30,
28.
somewhere in there. And then you're paying Joe Burrow the second most average annual value.
55.
Almost 50%, if you take the average annual value number of their salary cap, tied up in 2 receivers and a quarterback. Your thoughts?
Good luck. I'm not kidding you. I was doing the math, and I was like, so if the 3 guys are making 50% of the cap, that means that 50 guys get to make up the other 50% of the cap, which means that every guy gets 1% realistically, because after that, like, the league minimum is becoming $1 million. And so all of a sudden you're like, so wait a minute, you have to make at least $1 million, but you can't make over 2. How is this going to work? Like,
Ohio State math right
Dude,
there, by the
hey,
way.
Yeah.
It's
Right there. Keep
not.
that in.
This is not going to. And by the way, if you thought you threw the ball a lot before, if you thought 65 times a game was a lot, dude, Zach Taylor's like, hold my beer. Watch this. We're going to be doing it 85 times a game, and it's only
And
going to
anytime
2
someone
guys.
whines about it, they're gonna be like, "There's
Shut up.
$147 million out there. Shh, we're throwing the football, right?" Chase, who was it? It's the running back, Chase
Brown.
Chase Brown's the most sad out of anyone right now. right? Because
Oh.
he had like a nice year last year. It was
Yep.
coming
About
along,
to
and
get
now they're
paid.
like
Running backs are getting paid now too, right,
yeah,
guys?
running backs, and they're like, shh, you pass block over there and catch some screens and just be quiet and be happy about it, right? Okay, Dad. I think back to the Rams 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, the Rams' like entire defense was either on rookie scale contracts or veteran minimums, besides Aaron Donald. And I think Zach Taylor looked at that and goes, okay, Trey, you're going to get a fat bag too. And then everyone else around you, we're going to have to just basically put on rookie contracts or vet minimums.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way this is going to work, because Orlando Brown's still making big money at their left tackle, right? They're going to have to pay Trey Smith. Logan Wilson is still making good money for the middle linebacker spot. They have some other guys that are on decent money contracts on the defensive side. Now there's just a bazillion holes they have to fill.
Dude.
They better score 45.
The
That's
best
a
tweet
lot
of the
of
weekend
pressure.
was the guy who tweeted, "We're about to see the 33rd ranked defense for the first time in NFL history here, in a league with 32 teams."
Dude, when I read that, I was like, they're going to be playing with 10 guys out there. They're going to be like, literally, we will play every game with one less guy. If we can take one guy off of the salary cap, please let us do this. It's going to be, I'm not kidding. This is going to be wild. I mean, they could, who's to say they can't pull it off? Because at some point you're like, this has to score a lot of points. But God love them if one of them gets a hamstring or a fucking ankle. Like, it's going to be a mess, dude. Because your whole money is just now sitting on the sideline doing nothing.
That's the thing with last
That's
year,
your cap.
too. What was, I'm going to pull this up real quick. T. Higgins missed a lot of time last year. He was out with an ankle. Oh, hold on. Let me pull this up. Last year, so last year he missed 1, 2, 3, 4. He missed 5 games last year.
Yeah.
Right? He missed the first 2 weeks of the season, and then he
You're
missed
not
3
missing
weeks
anymore,
there at
bud.
the end.
Well, the year
only
before,
had
he missed 5 the year
missed
before
5
that.
the year before too, right? So I think that was the biggest reason. Like, everyone wants to bitch about the franchise tag and how it's not right to the players, but that's the way of the Bengals kind of protecting themselves a little bit for all the stuff you just laid out there, Booney. If you can't, every meeting I sat into the combine this year, they were all said in a way, a roundabout way, the same thing. I'm tired of paying money for big time players that play 8 games a year. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's exactly like you said. We make these huge offseason moves. We pay these guys. Marcus Davenport comes to mind. Right? Shots
Mackey
across the
laughs
bow,
instant-
whatever.
Yeah, Mackey
whatever
laughs
you want,
instantly.
shots fired,
hey.
whatever. But Marcus
Hey,
Davenport,
don't.
you pay a guy a bunch of money, he plays 3 games, and you're like, well, that was a waste of cap. Right? That's what guys are sick of, and you're playing that game. JaMarr's been great. He's been healthy. He's been, knock on wood. But T's the guy you got to worry about a little bit. You got to just assume he's going to miss 3 to 4 games a year.
Here's my even if he plays, here's my question for you guys, and it starts with the premise that I think Joe Burrow, because they did that contract a couple years ago, I think he's in a select group of quarterbacks, call it 4, maybe 5 guys, that you write the check for Joe Burrow, you don't ask questions, and then you figure out the rest of your team, right? Mahomes is on that list, Josh Allen. No regrets on the Joe Burrow contract. But then, once that ink is dry, you have to figure out, okay, how are we now spending the rest of our money? Because he now takes up a huge chunk. When the Bills did it, one of the first decisions they made was, Stephon Diggs. That's a luxury we can't afford anymore. So, hey, Josh, we're paying you, and we're going to bring in some less proven wide receiver and tight end options, and you have to make it work. And they did.
Right.
The first thing the Chiefs did after they signed Patrick Mahomes to like a 10-year contract was, all right, so congratulations. We got to move Tyreek Hill now because we can't afford to pay him $30 million, and you're going to have to make it work with, Rashee Rice. We're going to draft him in a couple of years, whatever, right?
Right.
The Bengals went the other direction. The Bengals are doing the opposite.
We're going to
They're
pay
pouring
everybody.
crazy resources into the receivers, and they're going to have to be aces in the draft, in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, to make it work. I think I like what the Chiefs and Bills did better because I think it allows you to build just a stronger overall roster. So I don't know, man. Hey, Joe Burrow got what he wanted, but I don't know that it's the best thing for winning games.
The biggest
the
difference
problem.
between Bills and Chiefs and Bengals, what you said, they all had average defenses when they paid Josh and when they paid Patrick. The Bengals had the worst defense. It was awful. I've never seen a team lose more games scoring 35 plus more points in my entire life.
Yep.
Right? If you hit 35 points in an NFL game, you should win. Right? I mean, anything above 35 too, mark it on the win column, have the backups in the fourth quarter. Let's ride off into next week. These dudes are in dogfights at like 38-42 and losing games like 49-45. This isn't NCAA. Like, that's a tough place to be. They have to really nail draft picks, and they have to really hope that some guys they bring in on veteran level contracts, lower level, show out and show up.
Yeah, because you're not going to have much. And Mackey, that's a great point when you talk about like all the other teams had to get rid of their talent. They were basically like, listen, we're paying you to be the talent. You're going to make everybody around here talented, or else this is not going to work. It's like, it's the exact opposite of a rookie scale quarterback, right? That's where they're like, we're going to pour a ton of assets into you because you cost us nothing. Now it's like, you've eaten all of our cap, so now we give you nothing and you give us gold in return, and this is where we get paid. And it's crazy to think, and the more you think about it, the more it's like, man, I don't know that this will work, because you're right, stability around the rest of the team is going to be like rookie, year 10 guy, year 12 guy, all backed up by rookies. Like,
It's the guy that just wants to play one more year. He's like, I'll do it.
One more.
Veteran minimum, sign me up.
Yeah. I mean, last year in the NFL, if you look at here's the teams that spent the most money on wide receivers last year. The Dolphins, number one by a mile.
Yeah. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, right?
Seahawks, number two, because Lockett was still making $14, $15 million. The Rams, all right, the Rams almost got to the Super Bowl, so it worked for the Rams.
They had some sweet receivers, though.
The Buccaneers,
Studs
okay.
Again, loaded studs.
But
hey, look what they did with their quarterback.
How many of those have quarterbacks making $50+ million a year?
That's what I was just gonna say. Well, now
Yeah.
the Rams do. But
Stafford wasn't making 50 last year.
not now, not before, but he was now. But I get what you're saying.
That's why they cut Cooper Kupp.
That's my whole point.
That's why Cooper Kupp had to go bye-bye.
Eventually, when they pay the quarterback, they're like, okay, we have to get rid of one of your toys. Why? Because they're paying you now. We're paying you two people's salaries. That's a great point. And honestly, if this goes belly up, I'm wondering who is going to have egg on their face the most. Like,
won't be Joe Burrow, because he's going to break the record again for touchdowns in most yards thrown.
well, he better. Well, that's the problem, is the guys up front better be blocking for him. I mean, dude, that's going to be.
Yeah, I think if it were me, I don't know, it almost feels like the organization felt, rightfully so, the public pressure and the pressure from Joe Burrow that, hey, like, let's stop we're regarded as this cheap franchise, right? And it's great. You went and spent a boatload of money, but could you have spent a boatload of money on one of them and then grabbed a couple pieces of draft pick capital and then fix other areas of your roster? That's my only big question out of all this. So
we will see. We will see.
It better be
Mike,
electric. That's all I know. Go ahead.
Next, Mike, and I think we'll scoot out of the way so Boone can put a quarter in Boone here. Aaron Rodgers, the weekly Aaron Rodgers update here.
Do we have to
wind him up?
So here's
Happy
the latest.
St. Patrick's Day, boys.
Here's the latest. He wants reportedly a Sam Darnold-ish contract, 30. So he doesn't need 50, but 30-ish. Give him some respect. But it's negotiable. He's got standing offers on the table, according to reports from the Giants and the Steelers.
You don't say.
But he wants to play for the Vikings, and so he is being patient, waiting on the Vikings. And the Vikings haven't completely shot it down yet, according to reports. Because, if you're the Vikings and Rodgers happens to be available still in August and something goes wrong, all right, might as well keep our options open, right? So, Booty, your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers wanting to play for the Minnesota Vikings and making the Steelers and Giants wait?
Don't do it. Kwesi, you have destroyed this offseason. I mean, him and KOC have just cooked. You bring him in, and I don't care what anyone says. That's bullshit. Don't do it. Not needed. You're riding out with JJ. This is your guy. You believe in him fully. I mean, dude, I don't see it. And why the Vikings, though? Has he said why?
For Aaron?
Yeah.
Why not, dude?
It's loaded weapons. Kevin O'Connell. Defense got better last week.
But does he think he's going to be the starter? That's my question.
100%.
He would only do it if he
would only do it. And that was my biggest
Then I'm
issue.
asking you guys, what are we even talking about right now?
Well, that was my biggest take last week was, if you do this, you're ruining J.J. McCarthy's confidence.
So that's why we're not doing this.
That's why I don't – I mean, I've seen plenty of reports as like the Vikings have no interest, and then there's always like, oh, they're keeping 50-50 in the
No, they're
pool
not.
league. Like,
I call such bullshit. I guarantee you Kwesi and KOC have no interest in that. They're riding out with JJ. If you bring him in, the you and JJ McCarthy experiment is over forever. You've already made him sit 1 year behind Sam.
Well,
now you're going to make him sit.
He got hurt.
He got hurt.
Make him
Okay,
sit.
got it. Still sits year 1. All of a sudden you come back to Aaron year 2, and it's like, we're just not sure about you, bud. I really don't think that ends well for anybody on the Vikings. What's your thought, Mackey? You're all about it, aren't you?
So I would push
Yes.
forward. No, I would push forward with JJ McCarthy.
Oh, okay, good.
But the way I laid it out to Jay last week is, okay, there's a reason why this is a thing, and it's because I'm sure KOC and Kwesi are sitting there behind the scenes exhausting every angle. And if you put yourself in Kevin O'Connell's shoes, the only possible angle would be, this is my one shot in my career to work with Aaron Rodgers before it's really too late. And maybe it's already too late.
I think it's
Do
too
I
late,
want to
bud.
take that 1 year magic carpet ride and see what we can do together? A first ballot Hall of Famer, bring him into this infrastructure, bring him into this culture. The one thing I'll push back at is people think Rodgers would come in and ruin the Vikings culture. The Jets culture is blowing in the wind every year. There is no Jets culture.
Right.
I feel like the Vikings have built something strong enough to where if Rodgers even starts to ruin it, you just cut him. It's not going to be like a 5-year contract.
Yeah, but it's not that
So-
Mackey. Come on, it's not that easy. You can't just be like, oh, you start a forest fire, we're just going to cut you, and everything's going to be fine. Like, oh my God, Mackey, we've already started off on the wrong foot. If the conversation walking into him signing the contract goes, now listen, first forest fire you start, first time on McAfee, we're cutting you. You should probably not sign said such player. Like, that is such a terrible start to a marriage. That's why it's like, this is the fact that anyone's even entertaining this is so bad. Like,
It's basically
listen,
you're basically signing a prenup.
yes, and I agree with you. I'm not.
Hey, Aaron, we love you, but if you screw us,
you're out.
dead. You're
Day
dead.
one, like
You're dead
Monday,
to me,
you're out.
right?
Next Monday,
And
you're
you
done.
don't get to take anything with you.
No.
Yeah.
You're gone. No, and not only that, I agree with you. I'm not saying the Jets have been the greatest, right? Like, the owner was caught listening to his 15-year-old son on who to cut. Like, we've crossed a weird line.
Well, did you see that there's a report of all the matting rankings for all the Jets free
God.
agents that came out?
Were they insanely good?
They were
Probably.
okay.
They were average.
He
They were average. Listen, no. My biggest problem with this is he's just not playing at a high level, like the level that he expected himself to play at. And I get it. At times he's running for his life in New York. At times he was doing that in Green Bay too. Like, at some point it's like, hey, maybe it's just not there anymore. Maybe we're going to get more interceptions and more harm than we are going to get good out of this. Like, we need to just let this one go and be like, hey, Steelers, Giants, whoever wants them, take them. Honestly, there's no way though that Aaron can go from the Jets and go right back to the next year to the Giants. Like, I just don't see that. That has to be too funny. Like, you can't tell me you wouldn't laugh at that.
Well, my thing is with the Jets and with the Giants, you have to know they're drafting a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that has to be part of the conversation to Aaron is, listen, yes, this is your show for this year, but we are drafting a quarterback. Because there's no way that I'd be shocked if the Steelers just rode with, hey, we're just going to pay Aaron, and then we're also just going to let Mason Rudolph be here again, and no building of depth.
But where are the
But the Steelers would have to be, they're picking 21st, so they'd
Well, that's the
either have to have
problem. No, they're
Shador
gonna have
fall
to-
down there
I
or
don't-
grab
I
Jackson
don't-
Dart.
I
like
think
the
they're
third round.
yeah. I think Jackson Dart is a very realistic thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I don't know if they get him in the first. They might get him in the third, in the second, or if he falls that far. But I could see Jackson going to the Steelers.
But Aaron, it's interesting. Aaron clearly views the Steelers and the Vikings as very different situations.
Yes.
Where a lot of people think, oh, Steelers are a perfect fit. Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers, mutual respect. But if Rodgers viewed that situation as a perfect opportunity to put a stamp on his career, he would have signed a week ago.
Right.
So he clearly views a gap between, and he's probably looking at DK Metcalf and George Pickens.
How could you
huge
not?
pains in the asses.
Oh, yeah.
And even though he might respect Mike Tomlin, he just got done working with a defensive coordinator, head coach, and it kind of blew up. He loves to mentally match wits, right? So I think Kevin O'Connell would be a guy that he could play some mental chess with.
Dable too. I think you could do that with Dable.
Dable in New
I
York.
think him and
I agree.
Dable could definitely get. I mean, the way Dable likes to run his offense and all that bit.
Yep.
So,
But here's
my
one
question:
last,
is how long do the Steelers and Giants just sit around and wait? And like, the problem is there's no one else now that
Right.
Kirk is got paid $10 million.
Jameis Winston's visiting the Giants today, so
Yes.
that's
Ooh.
their next step.
Yes, dude.
I
Give
would
it to
love
me.
that. Dayball and
Butts in the
Jameis.
seat, baby.
Jay, how would
Butts in
that
the
work?
seat.
You tell us.
be fantastic. It'd be exactly what he's been everywhere he's been. You're going to get 500 yards and 5 touchdowns one week, and you're going to get 4 interceptions the next week, and you're just going to ride the roller coaster. That's just what it is with him.
Real quick, back to just one last thing on Rodgers and Vikings, because that appears to be just the holdup here. I think you could, again, in a room where it's Kevin O'Connell and his own thoughts, I think he could convince himself we have a Super Bowl ready roster right now in 2025. Who gives us the best chance to win a Super Bowl right now? I think he could talk himself into Aaron Rodgers, because the other guy, I love JJ, and he'll be here for 10 years. He's never played. Mm-hmm. But I did some digging on this over the weekend. Aaron Rodgers, in terms of, he's 41. Comparable situations, a 41-year-old winning a Super Bowl or playing at that level, there's one in the history of the league. It's Tom Brady.
Peyton Manning was close, right?
Manning was like 39 and completely along for the ride. He got benched for Brock Osweiler that season in Denver.
Halfway
came back at the end of the year and rode the best defense in the league, throwing end-over-end ducks in the Super Bowl.
Couldn't throw shit at the Super Bowl, dude. That was terrible.
He was in the back seat riding his way, all due respect.
That was versus the Panthers, right? They beat the Panthers?
Yeah.
They beat
Super Bowl 50.
Cam Newton, because Von Miller
didn't dive on the fumble.
Didn't dive on that fumble. Should have.
But the only guy that's like carried a team at a high level past the age of 40, 41 is Tom Brady. But there's a lot of examples of highly drafted quarterbacks who missed their entire first year either because they sat or they were injured and came out of the gate immediately. Colin Kaepernick in 2012 came in. You guys went to the Super Bowl, Booney. Dante Culpepper, first-year starter in 2000, led the league in touchdown. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes was an MVP after sitting his first year.
Yeah.
So
Smith.
I think you got to roll. You got to roll with JJ. Final
there's
answer. Final answer.
Way more.
I'm
upside.
done with it.
Yeah.
I think you roll with JJ, and you don't bring the media circus and the questions and everything else that rolls with it. Roll with the kid.
And that's the biggest thing is you don't want the media tagging you all year and following you and what's up with Aaron and the everything. And then all of a sudden it's the McAfee shows back again. Like you have such a great thing because nobody knows what goes on inside the Vikings building. And everyone always thinks that KOC and Kwesi are always on the same page. Why bring someone in that's going to expose all that to be like, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Like you just don't know what's going to happen. Like with JJ, you have such a young player that you can be like, listen, stay in your fucking lane. Let's just stay in our lane. Let's be chill. Let's be great. And let's have fun. Like with Aaron, you can't do that. And at times you're going to be asking instead of telling. And it's like, Dad, I don't want to know if you want that. You have such a great position right now. You have such a great offseason. You bring him in. And I'm not saying that he's a bad person, bad character. It's just, it's not a good fit right now. And at the same time, it's not worth it.
Cinematically, it'd be entertaining. He's literally walking the same footprints as Brett Favre did 15 years ago.
He's trying.
The weird falling out with the Packers, going to the Jets for a weird period, suffering an injury, and then finagling his way to the Vikings, and the whole thing is
the picture
bizarre.
of him standing on the beach wrapped in a blanket.
Contemplating his life,
looking out.
Do I want to make $50
Dude, I saw it on McAfee. McAfee is like, sources have confirmed, and they just kept showing him walking along the beach, like kicking seashells. And I'm like, what a fucking loser, dude.
Digging sandcastles.
Oh God, you can do some mulching.
Oh my God. All right, boys. Let's do a little meat in the A gap here. Let's do some meat in the A gap. I've got a few meat in the A gap questions where you guys get to choose between, I don't know, 1, 2, sometimes 3 options. You guys had a little off microphone conversation for 30 seconds about the Chargers. And I want to bring this to the show here.
Let's do it.
So, meeting in the A gap is the winner of the 2025 AFC West. Is it going to be the Kansas City Chiefs or the Los Angeles Chargers?
Or the Denver Broncos?
Okay, we'll throw a third team in there.
I think the Raiders are a distant fourth, by far and away. I am fascinated to see what this Kansas City team looks like coming out the gate after just getting mollywopped in the Super Bowl. Right? Not a tough loss, last second, right? Mollywopped, right? Ran out of the stadium. Can they recover from that mentally? That's a tough thing to do. Now, they didn't lose a whole lot in free agency. They added some pieces to it. Like, that team's not going to be drastically different next year.
But they still don't have left tackle solution.
They lost
Joe
Joe Tooney. They don't have a left tackle situation. I think they're going to try and put Kingsley in there at left guard, who they drafted in the second round last year. Try and figure out the left tackle situation. But they still have 15. And until 15 is no longer wearing a Chiefs uniform, I don't think I can bet against the Kansas City Chiefs not winning the AFC West.
Chargers added Najee Harris and Mekhi Becton to the
bullshit,
most run-heavy
Let's
play calling
go
team in the league.
Chargers, baby. Super Chargers.
Yes.
Dude, they are absolutely the Najee Harris. Listen,
Stockholm syndrome. Love that captor. Jim Harbaugh still got you under his thumb.
Not that I'm under my thumb. Dude, the Mekhi Becton, I love that. Why? Because we want to be a run-first type of offense.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, but then you go out and get Najee Harris, a guy who I've honestly loved for a long time. I think he's a little bit underrated, but you put him behind a decent offensive line, it'll be exciting to see what happens. Their biggest problem is going to be still on the outside. They're going to have to find somebody on the outside. I know they got Mike Williams back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he come back? But at the same time, if you can go out and draft some young players, some young receivers to get out there and show some speed, they could finally start to play like the team that they wanted to play. Because that was the one thing and at times drove me nuts was they would start the season and it was like, okay, well, how long until the running game fails them? Because they don't have true running backs back there that can go out and make these one cuts and gone. Like you need somebody like a Najee back there with a Gus Edwards to be like, okay, now we're rolling because now I have my speed and here's the dudes could 1-2 punch him. Now you're starting to look at an offense as you're saying, okay, this could work if they go out and find some pieces on the outside.
Agreed. They need some help on the outside. They lost Joshua Palmer. He went over to the
Where
Bills.
did he go?
He went to the Bills,
Bills.
which is a great signing for them.
They're going to love
That's
him.
a fantastic signing for them, right? But I agree with you. They need to get a second tight end, right? I think it was Will Dissly was their number one tight end last year, right? There's some decent tight ends they could pick up in the draft this year that are play ready right now type of guys. You go get a tight end because that's big on the play action scheme that Giro likes to run out there. Going to still be the heavy downhill. First, Mike Williams is back, who's a top big receiver, throw the 50-50 ball, right? And then you have Ladd McConkey in there too. So there's some pieces there, but I agree. They need to add one more big-time pass catcher in that offense.
By the way, Tankathon right now has them drafting with the 22nd overall pick, 6'6", 250-pound tight end from Michigan, Colston Loveland.
We were going to say Loveland. Dude, we both
really like Loveland.
And he fits that scheme really well. Big tight end running down the middle, at times can block, but still go out and make plays. That's going to be huge for them.
Agent life, boys. I'll be right back.
Oh, wow. Look at this. You never know.
Trouble.
At any given time this time of
just
year.
Get a phone call and it's over. No, it's
Agent
just you
life
and me, Phil.
could strike.
Yeah.
I don't
dude,
know,
you know
man.
I'm huge on the Chargers. And I agree 100% with what Jay says, right? Like to bet against 15 would be crazy in our eyes. Still don't know how they're going to come out, but I think the Chargers are doing exactly what they wanted to do, and this puts them more in line with the offense that we've normally seen them play, right? Like run the ball first and need to ground and pound for a while, and then this play action off of it. And then at times, if we need to, we can spread everybody out. Like that's really what this game has become. And if you look at who's doing that the best right now, it's kind of Philly. Philly can line up, they run the ball, and they do whatever the fuck they want. Nobody can stop them. And then off of that, they play action. And then in the Super Bowl, what do we see him do? Just one-on-one them on the outside, right? Like the minute that they knew it was one-on-one, he was like, I'm going to make a back shoulder throw. I'm going to put this in the air right over his head. Like all these things ended up being like, holy shit. That's like all three phases of the offense just kicking ass right now, and that's how you win games.
Yeah, I also that division too, just expanding on the AFC West. So Jay brought up the Broncos. That's a double-digit win team with a first ballot Hall of Fame coach. Bo Nix maybe has a ceiling compared to some of the other quarterbacks in that draft class. But then the bottom feeding team in that division goes out. It's if you get the right coach and you can change a culture. The Commanders were garbage for 25 years.
Yep.
Boom, GM ownership and then GM coach Jaden Daniels. But
kind of a total
the Raiders.
takeover.
Pete Carroll, Geno Smith is a professional top 16 quarterback in the NFL, and you got one of the best pass catching tight ends. So the AFC West is going to be fascinating. But I'm kind of with you, man. Like the Chargers feel like they're ascending, and the Chiefs feel like it feels like the biggest move they've made is Travis Kelce announcing he's coming back for like his age 36 season. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think at some point if you're Kansas City, you have to stop and be like, okay, what do we need to work on? Where do we need to get better? Obviously in the offensive line. And it's the same thing. There's not a lot of offensive linemen out there to go after. Like the number 1 left tackle signed back with the Ravens. So it wasn't like you had an option to get him. So at some point it's like, okay, now we need to go out and draft these offensive linemen. We need to be smart about what we're doing. That was really their biggest problem. They need to keep 15 standing upright. And at some point the run game has to get better. The more they can take off of him, the easier it'll become for him. And then all of a sudden everything becomes open downfield. But I agree with you more on what you said about Vegas. Dude, I love the Geno pickup with the Pete Carroll. And they got Tyler Lockett there too, right?
Yeah, is that official? Yeah, I think that
I'm pretty sure he's there too, right? AJ, is Tyler Lockett with Vegas now? He went with Geno and them down there, didn't he?
Let's see here.
Oh, we can't hear you, Jay. And then not only that, but with the Brock Bowers.
Sounds right.
Yeah, dude, I like that move. I think it's going to be exciting to see what they do. Once again, got to get some offensive linemen up front to take care of him, but it'll be really fun. I think you're right, Mac. I think the AFC West is going to be one of the most intriguing next year.
Steelers grabbed Lockett.
Oh, did they?
So
I think so.
You've got DK, George Pickens, and Tyler Lockett.
Oh, no, I'm wrong. Yeah, fresh start in Las Vegas, $7.7 million deal. That happened today? I think this happened, over the weekend.
Like a week ago. Yeah,
but
I remember reading about it.
But that division is
exciting, dude.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's gonna be freaking real. Let's go.
Okay, meeting in the A gap.
Do it.
2 party holidays.
Ooh.
St. Patrick's Day today, or New Year's Eve.
Oh, St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day.
I think New Year's Eve is the most overrated. Hold on.
Are you okay?
Okay, buddy.
Got some freaking blanket stuck in my chair here. It's so cold down here. There we go. So much better.
There we go.
I think New Year's Eve is the number 1 most overrated holiday of all time.
Agreed.
But first of all, it was cool when you were younger, but as you get older, I don't want to stay up till midnight. I got kids to parent. I got shit to do, right? Like I'm stay up till midnight, and it's like, oh yay, and then you go to bed, and that kid still wakes up at 6:45 a.m. ready to rock. So I don't know. Also, St. Patrick's Day is my little girl's birthday, so that one will always be near and dear. Yeah, 4 years old today for the little one. So
Let's go, dude.
So cute.
Let's go.
Dude,
Yep,
absolutely. St. Patrick's Day.
She's got a shirt on that says "I am this many," and it's just got a hand because that's how she tells people how old she is. She goes, "I'm this many," right? So yeah.
I think
St.
I think it's a
Patrick's Day.
clean sweep for St. Patty's Day as a 50% Irishman myself. It's also kind of amateur day in itself. It's for people that aren't actually Irish, pretend to be Irish. But if given the opportunity to contain my drinking from like noon until 5 p.m. And then smooth sail into the night versus like trying to stay up till midnight,
not doing it.
I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of St. Patrick's Day that got me in trouble though. So I avoid the holiday at all costs. I really do.
Just wear black, stay inside.
Everyone's like, "Oh, not wearing green today, Coach, for St. Patrick's Day." I was like, "Fuck St. Patrick's Day." Okay, last St. Patrick's Day I celebrated. How much trouble I got in? Not happening again. Ever again. Ever.
Don't talk to me.
Don't.
Okay. Next meet in the A gap here. Which of these backup quarterbacks gives you the best chance at a miracle pop-up run deep into the playoffs? So think about like the Vikings, for instance. Let's say J.J. McCarthy went down, and you need your Case Keenum to step in from the Bridgewater injury. Which one of these 3 veteran backup quarterbacks gives you the best chance to get to the NFC Championship game or the AFC Championship game? Meeting in the A gap: Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston.
God, I'm so glad you said Jameis. Go ahead first, Jay. Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to say Carson Wentz.
Oh my God, you should, are you fucking serious?
Listen.
Cut him off right now.
Listen.
Oh my God.
I don't even know what the ding is for, but you're ding for that.
You heard his
Joe
name.
Flacco had a wonderful year in Cleveland 2 years ago. Wonderful year.
Like 6 games.
Yeah, wonderful back end of the year.
It's terrible.
This year, huge hubbub. Hey, Anthony Richardson tapped himself out of a game. We can't be doing that. We're making a move to Joe Flacco, and this is not a short-term move. That was the quote. This is not a short-term move, right? This is for the foreseeable future. Joe Flacco is going to be our quarterback. He lasted 2 weeks. 2 weeks, right?
I remember those 2 weeks.
And it was not good. It was
not
good, dude.
One was versus the Vikings, wasn't it? We were all like,
we were like, this could be veteran quarterback, come in, carve him up. just
No.
straight downhill. The next
No.
week, same thing. I think Joe Flacco is past the ability to need him to come in and make you a run. It's not there anymore. Carson still is young enough to be able to do it. I love Jameis. I've told you this, but he's the only quarterback in the world that's done 30 for 30, right?
Good.
30 tutties, 30 interceptions. That's not giving you a run anywhere, nowhere, zero chance.
But don't you think?
No,
so
I trust that.
I feel like
that'll get me farther than Carson Wentz will.
I feel
Promise
like
you.
Kevin O'Connell could come in and smooth some of those interceptions down while preserving the high
the
end.
the essence of what is that miracle throw. Absolutely, dude. Number one, Flacco, we all know he's kind of washed up after what happened last year, the 2 games. Like, I totally agree. Like, now it's like, all right, we're good. I don't know the last time I saw Carson Wentz play in a game.
He started
and that's
week
18 Chiefs, right?
Yeah, and they got decimated by the Broncos.
I don't remember
was like
watching
30
that
rip.
game
It was
at
bad.
all
But
because I think
they
pulled
also
all the
played
starters.
like 0 starters. Carson
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
out there in a preseason game against a team that was battling for their playoff life. That's
Pretty
not a fair
much.
judgment.
No, but at
for
the same
Carson
time,
Wentz.
I would so rather have Jameis Winston. Like, if you're asking me as a player, Jameis Winston is my dude. I would so rock out with him in the huddle. I would definitely, no matter how many interceptions he threw, I would never get mad at him as long as he.
You're not asking your favorite guy to go grab a beer with after practice.
I
You're
am.
asked who's giving you the best chance to actually win football games. In
Of
the
these
NFL.
3, it's still the same guy, Jameis Winston, the guy I want to
with
go have
Booney,
the most
dude.
beers with. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm with Booney
Dude,
on this, man.
100%.
Jameis would be. There needs to be. Well, you know what? Darnold kind of fulfilled this. I remember when the Vikings signed Darnold a year ago, and they hadn't yet. We thought they might draft somebody, but I remember going on Purple Daily and saying, "I want there to be a parallel universe where we get to see what the next 12 months look like if it was Sam Darnold going into quarterback rehab school." And we got to see it, and he throws for 4,000 yards. We need a Kevin O'Connell parallel universe like reality show where, all right, Trey Lance, let's just see what he can do with 12 months. Jameis Winston, what does it look like after 17 games?
We need to see it. I feel like that's the best move for everyone, just because whatever KOC does, the quarterback whisperer, however he gets him to just chill out. I would love to see what he could do with Jameis.
If the Giants sign Jameis, I'd be willing to bet he starts week 1.
Just
If
throwing
he signs-
Not
YOLO
if
balls,
they draft
Malik Neighbors.
Shador. Not if they draft Shador.
I think so. I think Dable's going to roll out there with Jameis Winston week 1 if they sign him. I really do.
A little Stockholm
We'll see.
syndrome? I don't
I mean,
know.
Stockholm. Are you putting Shador out there over Jameis?
If he's the
Well,
number one,
there'd be pressure too.
there would be
That's
massive.
undeniable.
It's Jameis Winston. There would be massive pressure to put him out there.
And also, there'd be pressure even as you're trying to save your job as a coach and a GM
Oh,
to
yeah.
like get to the guy that you drafted as soon as possible to show that he can play, which might hurt his career if you do that.
Yeah, no, sorry, buddy. Jameis Winston's your number 1 on this. Carson takes a clear 2 to Joe, but I'm sorry.
No.
How about
The Vi-
Cooper
the-
Rush?
the Vi- He
Cooper
just
Rush?
signed with the Ravens.
He just signed with the Ravens. Could you imagine that drop off?
You know what's funny? I feel like the Ravens have tried to go with kind of like a diet version of Lamar Jackson
Yes.
as their backup for a long time, right? Like a Tyler someone who can
Huntley.
kind of move around.
Yeah.
And now the Cooper Rush is coming in.
Complete
Just-
opposite.
Just straight milk toast.
So our
dude.
backup offense
Just
is
milk toast.
gun, double right, 2 jet, everything. 2 jet
Derek,
everything.
we're just handing you the football.
yeah, pretty much. We're running ride and jet, baby.
Boys, we've come to the point in the show where we're going to unveil another new segment here.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
This is called Jeremiah's F1
Oh, let's
Racing
go.
Minute.
Oh my god.
We're going to put 60 seconds on the clock, and Jeremiah is going to get 60 seconds to talk about his second favorite sport, F1 racing. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 60 seconds on the clock, starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
It was lights out and away we went in Melbourne, Australia this weekend. It was wet, it was rainy, and it was the normal cast of characters that you found at the front. McLaren had the best guys out front. Really, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri led the entire race. They're going to be the team to beat this year. Max Verstappen came in second off of some things that were running around on that piece there. He's still going to be the best driver in the world. Liam Lawson and the rookies failed miserably. SFRs all across the board. First rookie, he he freaking wrecked in the qualifying, like the first lap, right? Just to get yourself ready to go. Like it's literally a formation lap, into the wall, done. Carlos Sainz Williams, into the wall, done. All the rookies looked like crap this weekend. It's the same cast of characters that we're expecting that we're going to roll through. We're in China this week, back on the grid. Free practice starts on Thursday. We've got a qualifier on Saturday. The race on Sunday will be lights out and away we go in China starting next week.
Oh, there it is.
Wow.
Right, he hit the post there.
He hit
the post, man. Jeremiah's
professional.
F1 racing minutes.
I didn't understand a word you just said. Or
yeah,
a
but
name
what's
you
your
said.
reaction to what he just said?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Well,
went right into the wall. The rookies are into the wall. And
Yeah.
Pierre Gasson was right into the wall.
It is a lot of foreign names. Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri.
Piastri took third. Dude, go away.
Piastri ended up taking ninth, but that's all right.
Oh, he sucks.
He's good. McLaren, baby. It's going for it.
Oh, God.
I love F1.
I
I stayed
feel
up
like
till
we should
1 in the morning.
I
I
can't.
stayed up till 1 in the morning watching the race. I loved it.
We should do a watch along and make Boone commentate a full
Not
F1 race on the
a
O-line
chance.
committee YouTube
Not a
channel.
chance.
His ADD would not last for an hour and a half of
I
racing.
would die. Zero, zero.
I used to be a big NASCAR fan as a kid. So like I've got family who races small tracks in Wisconsin. So as a kid, we
yeah.
would go to the races. Dale Earnhardt was my favorite athlete in the 90s, aside from like Randy Moss and when he died at Daytona, I think in 2001, I literally had to stay home from school the next day. I was so devastated.
distraught.
Have not watched a NASCAR race since that happened. 25.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I don't know, maybe you can hook us into F1.
I'll get you there. It's a lot of weird hours. A lot of weird hours.
Yeah, it's
4
kinda-
a.m. start times in Abu Dhabi. It's weird times.
But it is crazy. ESPN, I feel like, invests more resources now into F1 and like Tiger Woods Golf Simulator League than baseball. They kick baseball to the curb and they're like, all right, we're good on
No one wants to watch baseball.
racing.
Lies.
It's more fun. More fun to watch.
Stop it.
Boys, before we get to dumb football questions here, I would love to give you the latest Phil Mackey top 10 NFL power rankings
Oh,
Yes.
and see how aggressively you want to
as
fight
of
me on
March
some of these.
17th. Let's go.
I was
for
waiting
it.
for
After the
these.
first week of free agency, no draft yet.
I like
These are
writing
the
these
top
down.
10
I like
teams
writing
in the
these
NFL.
down and coming back to them.
Yeah, you can log these and clown me later.
Oh, we're going to.
We'll start at 10 and dramatically work our way up to 1.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right. Number 10 in the National Football League. The Green Bay Packers. Notoriously low key in free agency. You know, there was some DK Metcalf steam out there that they maybe made an offer and then that wound up not happening. But it's funny because they were the first team when NFL free agency opened up in 1993, like the full version of free agency. They signed Reggie White. They were like the first splash into free agency 30 some years ago. And they've mostly just kind of laid low the last 20 years. But Packers still very much a solid top 10 team in the NFL. They haven't proven they can beat the top 3 or 4 teams in the conference yet consistently, but good young roster, good young quarterback, one of the best head coaches in the league. So Packers at 10.
No wide receiver 1. That's
They got 4 wide receiver 2.5s.
Yep. They have no wide receiver 1, 0, and a young quarterback. They need I think they'll draft another one, but yeah, I mean Christian Watson. You know you're going to miss him for 8 games a year. He's always hurt, and then you have Romeo Doubs, Jalen Reed. They need a wide receiver 1. They have to.
That's why the DK Metcalf stuff, it made sense. It's like, oh yeah, okay. Bring him in, and I don't know, maybe you can get some draft capital for 1 or 2 of the receivers you just mentioned. But
That's their biggest thing holding them back right now.
number 9, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Nice.
Green arrow pointing up to the right for this franchise. We talked about it already, but they bring in Najee Harris, Mekhi Becton, so they're adding to that
They lose Joey
meat
Bosa.
and potatoes. Yeah,
Joey
but he's
Bosa's
barely
gone.
played
Yeah,
the
but you
last 3
keep
years anyway.
Khalil Mack, which is nice.
That was a big one.
That was huge keeping him. Which if you would have lost both of them, I would have agreed.
They
with
lost.
You,
I
Jay.
think they lost Poona Ford too, didn't they?
I thought they.
They lost a nose guard too, so they lost 2 guys on the defensive line. I do know that. That'll be my biggest question mark for them is defensively.
And
Agreed.
where they're drafting, they could. I mean, tight ends are there, but defensive interiors there around whatever pick they have, 22, I want to say. So Chargers 9, just behind. I've got the Chiefs at 8 right now.
Ooh.
last year they were 1-score games all year long, and then they finally got their comeuppance in the Super Bowl. And I was telling Boone when you jumped off to do agent things, it feels like the Chiefs' biggest move, all right, here we go. The biggest headline is Travis Kelce's coming back for his age whatever season. And they still don't have a left tackle situation. They did sign Christian Fulton, the cornerback from the Chargers, but
they signed Jalen Moore too, right?
Yeah, to play left
O-line.
tackle, right?
No,
I don't know if he. No.
Yeah. Jalen Moore from
the San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, that makes your floor 10, 11 wins, and then you're building up.
Pacheco will be back healthy.
And Jay, I don't know if you agree with this, but I was telling Mackey, one of the things is, other than keeping Patrick upright, is I feel like they have to install more of a run game. Like, they have to take more off of Patrick. Like, if you're not going to have the O-line that can protect him.
Well, that's how they won their Super Bowls.
I know, but
when they won their games, they leaned heavily into the run. They just were able to get it go. Isaiah Pacheco getting hurt last year really derailed that.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt came in, did a nice job. He's back. Samaje Perine goes back to the Bengals. Right, so I think that running back room, if Pacheco can stay healthy, he's obviously the guy, and everything's going to run through him.
Commanders at 7.
Oh, for sure.
It's a little low.
I would say that's low
this
too.
is where it gets a little. This is where you might fight me a little bit more here, but
It's a little low.
They add Deebo Samuel, and we'll see how much. Man, if that guy goes back to being healthy and having a year or two of juice left,
In shape.
and then Laramie Tunsil, in shape. There's been some. Those are those photoshopped where he's got like a.
I don't know, dude. There's like big old belly guts on him. There's like my toddler standing there, like big old butt sticking out.
Top bets.
So, they made a run last year that not many people saw coming in that way. They're going to play a harder schedule now, and they're going to be judged on a different level. But I think they're sitting at 7th right now.
We'll see who you have above them, because I think they're easily a top 5 team.
Yeah.
Not super low, but I think they're a top 5 team in the NFL based off what I saw from them last year.
Number 6, Detroit Lions. So they did lose Kevin Zeitler to the Titans. They swapped cornerback Carlton Davis III for DJ Reed, which either is a wash or maybe an upgrade for them. But they're getting injured players back on defense. Aiden Hutchinson, most
Losing him
notably,
was huge. Yeah.
the best edge rusher in the NFL before he got hurt. So, biggest questions are, you lose both coordinators. Mm-hmm. You continue to make these runs throughout the last 2 years and suffer these horrible emotional losses and then start at the bottom of the mountain again. And as you saw with the 49ers last year, at some point it's like, boy, you look back and you might have missed your opportunity. I still think the window is open for a year or two with the Lions, but there's been some major, major losses that they're going to have to account for, coaching and personnel with Kevin Zeitler.
Yeah, Zeitler leaving, but Christian Mahogany did a really nice job stepping in for them last year in the playoff. I think they kind of stole him as a 6th rounder last year. He'll step in for that Zeitler spot. You still have Penei Sewell, you still have Taylor Decker, you still have Frank Ragnow, right? You still have a really solid interior, and you still have Jameer Gibbs.
Right.
As long as Jameer Gibbs is still running the football back there, and David Montgomery stayed, which is going to continue to help spell him, that run game's still going to be top 2 in the NFL.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's fair. Okay, now we're into the top 5 here.
Here we go.
And this is where it gets a little homerish, because I've got the Minnesota Vikings number 5 right now.
I'm cool with that.
Wow.
I would have Commanders above the Vikings.
Okay.
Mostly,
I don't
because
know,
we know what we're getting with Jaden Daniels. You know what you're getting with Jaden Daniels. This is you have a Super Bowl contending roster.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
With
I
a
get what
question mark at quarterback. That doesn't scream like top 5 to me. I still think with the roster build, you're 100% top 10. But I would say the Lions and the Commanders. I would drop Vikings down below those 2 teams.
But could I argue the Vikings had a lesser roster last year with a bigger question mark at quarterback and won 14 games because of coaching scheme? Maybe
but last year was last year, and that won't change anything. I guess my question, Jay, would be this: what if they said that Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback? Would they be at 5 on your list?
No.
Okay, that's a fair question. It's a fair
I
answer.
don't put Aaron Rodgers right now is not above Jared Goff or Jalen Daniels.
Very fair.
Right now.
What if I'm trying to think of a quarterback placeholder? What if Jared Goff was the Vikings quarterback, so you could quantify who their quarterback is?
Top
Where
3.
would you have them?
I'd have them top 3.
So basically, if J.J. McCarthy can play like a fringe, this is a big if.
It's a
A
big
fringe
huge if.
top 10
It's a
quarterback
huge
who
if.
can
That's why he's
play on
saying you should.
schedule.
Dude, you have Jared Goff with Kevin O'Connell. It's just like when the Rams went to the Super Bowl with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, and now you have who's the guy they just traded for running back wise? You have Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
and
Jordan Mason.
Jordan Mason and that two stables. Like that's the thing. It's just the giant question mark is quarterback because you're only as good as your quarterback in this league.
Right.
That's just the facts of the NFL. It's why they make so much freaking money.
Jordan Mason for a 6th-round pick in 2026
that was a steal, dude.
wild.
I remember talking about him this year. Remember, we watched some of this film.
He did a great job filling for CMC.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to fit that scheme really, really
well.
He was top 10 in the NFL in yards after contact per attempt.
I think he's right. I think the Vikings have to drop to 7 on this just because it's an unknown at quarterback. And even then, you're still ahead of the Chiefs, which is almost a sin.
The roster's super good. Like the roster.
But you're right. It's this one
you
position.
You get into a one-score game with 2 minutes left on the clock. Am I taking Jared Goff or Jalen Daniels, or am I taking J.J. McCarthy right now?
Right now.
Right now, in March 17th.
Probably Jaden Daniels. I'm sorry,
I'm
guys.
taking Jaden Daniels. 100%.
All day.
Dude's cool ice in his veins.
I'll take the proven high school and college champion, J.J. McCarthy.
You are such a liar, and that's a
The
ding
Zen
for a
master
lying
himself.
fine. Ding him for a lying fine right now. Zen master.
Okay,
Give
number
himself
4.
nicknames.
Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens. They keep Ronnie Stanley. Yep. They did bring in DeAndre Hopkins and whatever juice he may or may not have left. But, as long as you've got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry until he proves otherwise has not gone over the age cliff. So I'll take the Ravens at 4.
That's a good bet.
Love it.
I've got the Rams 3rd right now.
Ooh.
You upgrade. I know they're both in their 30s, but I think Devontae Adams over Cooper Kupp is a huge upgrade where those guys are at health-wise.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And people forget. I think people kind of judge the Rams based on they won like 10 games and they snuck into the playoffs. So they started 1-4. They had crazy injuries.
Crazy.
You're starting rookies. I think you had a rookie center and a rookie guard at one point.
Yep.
And you're in
third tackle. You're in your third tackle.
You're in a 1-4 hole. If you take the Rams from that point going forward, and by the end of the year, their defense was holding, I think it was 4 of the last 6 games, holding opponents to single-digit points defensively, and you upgrade offensive weapons, bring back Matthew Stafford. The Rams are back, and that was not a fluke run that they made.
No.
So I've got the Rams actually 3rd on this list.
Yeah, and Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and all those pieces in the middle on the defensive line, right? You lose Aaron Donald, you go draft 2 young studs that were, I think, top 15 in pressures all last year with those 2 guys. I mean, I agree. The Rams are right back, and I think they're the best team in the West.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to
say,
disagree.
who are you going to fight?
Not
me on
even
that?
going to
Please,
disagree with.
please,
No, I'm
I will
not.
die
I'm
on
not.
that
I
hill.
love
I
Matthew
will
Stafford.
plant
I know.
the flag. And
I would too.
Right now.
I had to make sure. I had to double check all my teams real quick.
Oh.
You saw me running through the whole West. Like I started in the North.
I wanted a Cardinals rant.
Didn't even have to go to the South.
Kyler Murray's still in the West. You know that, right? Like,
yeah. No, not a chance.
Okay, number 2, Jeremiah's Bills. They take a little flyer on Joey Bosa, Josh Palmer, a sneaky little.
That Joey Bosa is
addition.
going to be fucking dirty.
Question mark on there's some internal rumblings with James Cook right now.
Oh no! Don't you say that. Don't you say
that.
You're seeing a little bit of Cook saying like, "I just want my worth." So there's a little bit of that starting, but I agree. I mean, Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, they didn't lose to anyone off their offensive line. Huge. You pay your quarterback, you settle that whole position down. And, I mean, Joey Bosa had an interview where he said he talked with Josh Allen and was like, if we do what we're supposed to, we'll be immortal in this city. They know what they need to do. Yeah. I agree. The Bills are going to be right there again fighting for it. Sean McDermott's got that team right where they need to be. Brandon Beane was able to admit, hey, messed up on Von Miller, let him walk, don't let this continue. Right? He's done some really good roster moves with where they were at 2 years ago. Right, 2 years ago when they basically were telling everyone we have to cut you or you have to take a pay cut. Right, to where they are now has been some really good cap finagling.
And that leaves the Eagles, obviously, number 1. It's kind of crazy that they can lose Josh Sweat, Mekhi Becton, Milton Williams, Isaiah Rodgers was a good rotational corner, and still just be completely loaded and not miss a beat with any of those positions.
As much as I love all those guys, I wouldn't say any of those guys were huge, like, needle movers.
No. Well, maybe Milton Williams.
Maybe Milton
that-
Williams, but
he
even
was
then,
pretty good.
He was a 500
Like a 500
snap. Yeah, he was a 500 snap a year guy.
Still, when he's in there, he's good. He's tough. And I think losing Mekhi will be different just because we saw what happened when they put Tyler Steen in. And
Steen
I'm not
in.
saying that for any reason that Tyler can't get better this offseason. But at some point, you have to think that they might take a step back before they take a step forward. But when you have a guy like Stoutland coaching that room, you don't worry about a lot of that. And when you have Saquon behind you, like, dude, they can make you look so right when you're so wrong. So, I mean, I do agree with you that they did lose some pieces, but at the same time, they are still one of the toughest teams coming back next year by far.
100%. I mean, Saquon got the pay raise, $20 million a year.
No big
Congrats, everyone, on that front. AJ Brown's back, hungrier than ever because he didn't feel fulfilled in winning a Super Bowl, whatever bullshit that was.
So for him, it needs to be a Super Bowl win, and he catches
And
10
he
passes
catches,
in the
like,
Super Bowl.
Yeah, he had a meaningful impact. Like, well, as long as 26 is still back there, might not happen.
Yeah.
Right.
But we'll see how much you're crying when a second ring might get on your finger.
Yeah. So Eagles number 1, Bills number 2, Rams 3, Ravens 4, Vikings 5, Lions 6, Commanders, Chiefs, Chargers, Packers.
The one team that I'm sitting here looking at, thinking maybe we drop the Packers or the Chargers for, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
No,
Broncos have a case too.
The Buccaneers, what they did, because Chris Godwin was out basically all of last year, back half of the year when he snapped his leg, right? Baker, Mike Evans, Godwin's back. You get Tristan Wirfs back healthy, Luke Gadecki, Cody Mock, Graham Barton. They just signed Ben Bredesen to a nice big year, right? Ricard White's back. Bucky Irvin's going to take a huge jump into this year. You still have Vita Vea. Levante David's back.
Dude, he's coming back.
That's a hard one for me. The only thing I'd push back on this is I would probably drop the Packers, add the Bucks, and I would drop the Vikes to 7 and bump Detroit and Washington.
Okay.
I'm cool
That
with
would be
that.
that would be my final pushback on this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay making the Vikings prove their way back up the list based on quarterback play. The fact that no one really fights the Chiefs being kind of on the fringe of a top 10 list is.
Well, I think last year was
15,
crazy.
dude.
A lot of
as
people,
long as 15's there, though.
they're still in the top 10 with 15. The question is, do they play better this year, or is it last year, like where it's dink and dunk and survive, block a field goal to win a game?
I'll say this. I would not be shocked if this is, what was the year after the Vikings won like a bunch of one-score games, and then the next year just completely
It was
imploded?
2020.
Was it 22 or 23?
22, they won all the one-score games.
So
23.
I would not be shocked if 23 Vikings and 25 Chiefs have similar paths.
Yeah.
Right. 1 or 2 bounces go the other way. They don't have the blocked field goal, right? And now they're looking at a 8-9 win season instead of up there in the low teens, right? I could absolutely see that happening this year with the Chiefs, just with roster situation and the way that they won all those games last year.
It still feels like 10 wins is like the worst case scenario if you get a full season of Reed and Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that the baseline goes down further than that, but
That's if they stay completely healthy.
Yep.
Right. That's saying everything stays healthy on paper. If Rashee Rice comes back, he's good. Right. You've Stein Juju back. He can play his whole as Isaiah. Like, there's just a lot of question marks there because the depth on that team got tested last year and it rose when it needed to. But I don't know if you can do that 2 years in a row.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll do another power ranking maybe after the draft and see how low we can drop the Chiefs, so we can get the Chiefs off this list. I don't know.
Was that our goal to get the Chiefs off the top 10?
Okay, let's do some dumb football questions for the road here.
You're not ready.
You can always send in your dumb football questions to the O-Line Committee YouTube channel comment section. Keep them coming here. Click that like button, the subscribe button. So the first one comes from P. Mackey from Minneapolis, Minnesota here, because I saw this graphic from Adam Schefter, because Derek Stingley is going to reset the market at cornerback. You have...
right? He just signed today.
Yeah.
Was that today? And then JaMarr Chase, $40 million. So is the 2019 LSU football team has now delivered $660 million in contract value. Is the 2019 LSU football team the greatest collection of talent that we've ever seen on a college gridiron? Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, JaMarr Chase, Derek Stingley, Patrick Queen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was not a bust, but didn't quite pan out.
I think if
and
you're
Ed Ogeron just hanging on for dear life with his little
they
Cajun
had an
voice.
edge rusher. They had an edge rusher in there too, didn't they?
Let's see here. We'll pull up their
They
whole
didn't. They didn't have a stalworthy offensive
was it
lineman.
Thibodeau? No, Thibodeau's
No,
from Oregon.
Thibodeau he was Oregon, but I think they had an interior guy. Maybe I don't know.
Well,
I put them right up there with, and you're gonna ding the shit out of me for this.
Oh,
I put them right up there with the '95 Huskers.
Boom, hit them.
The '95 Huskers.
Stockholm.
And, listen,
God.
one of the greatest teams ever assembled.
Is that Lawrence Phillips?
Yeah, and it was Tommy Frazier.
Tommy Frazier?
Right, the Peters brothers. I mean, that 95 Husker team was ridiculous.
Let's pull them up.
That being said, since 2000s and on, I would agree that LSU football team was the best football team that we ever saw in college.
I don't know about that. What about the 01 fucking Miami Hurricanes?
Team? I know.
Dude,
that was
you
another
talk
one.
about it. You just said it, though.
Jeremy Shockey, Warren Sapp.
Dude, they Clinton Portis. They had Vilma. They had so many people on that team that were studs. Ed Reed.
Was Ray on that team?
No, Ray was 99. Wasn't he 99?
Yeah, Brian McKinney was on that team.
Dude, there was too many guys. I think you're talking that team was way more stacked than any team has ever been.
I don't know, dude. The LSU team was ridiculous.
Listen, they also don't. Those guys now would have made way more than $600 million. The salary cap has only boomed right now, and that's why the 19th class is striving. If you took the 01 class and put them in right now and said they are all free agents after the first 4 years of their NFL deals, it would be over $1 billion. Like, those dudes were studs, dude. Didn't Eric, what's his name, go there too? We just met his brother.
Winston? Was Winston on that team?
Eric Winston went to, yeah, dude, like, there's some of the biggest dudes ever went there.
Yeah, the 01 Miami team would definitely rival that because they also beat the living shit out of the Huskers that year, I believe.
Sorry.
Someday you guys will get back to your
Not anytime
days,
soon.
Jay.
Not anytime soon. It's okay.
Hey, you went bowling. You went bowling last year.
I mean, we can't just be ski-uma all the time.
Row the boat, Skyamago, go.
Yeah, you're right.
Sky
Could be
Yamago.
national champions either. That's okay.
right.
We all
How'd
can't.
that
by the way,
national championship game go for you? I can't remember. What year was that?
Both of them were terrible.
Was that oh, yeah, that's right. Just okay. We're
Terrible.
rubbing salt in wounds.
Hey, you know what? We had to lose them so they could win them. That's what we say.
We paved the road.
That's right. We got us in there, damn it.
We laid the bricks so you could run.
That's right.
By the way, the 2019 LSU offense averaged a tick under 50 points per game over a
Dude, it was so
15-game
stupid.
schedule,
It's
It was
ridiculous.
so stupid.
including 63 on Oklahoma in the semifinal.
It was so stupid.
It's ridiculous. Let's get to the next one here. All right, to the audience from Tony Owens. How difficult is it for continuity and chemistry when a bunch of free agents are signed to a team? And then, some of your friends get cut to make room for those guys. Seems like hard feelings could exist. How does that work?
I don't think there's really any hard feelings. If you let your emotion control things that happen in the NFL, you're not going to last very long. You have to understand that it's a business side of it, right? I'm not saying emotions on the field. I'm saying emotions from what the front office does to build their roster. You have to understand it's bigger than you. And are you bummed to see your buddies leave? Absolutely. Does it suck? Does it hurt? Yeah. But you can't shun the new guys that come in because the ultimate goal is you still want to go win a Super Bowl, right? And if they felt like that was an upgrade or they felt like, hey, bringing in free agents to battle it out, that's just the nature of the NFL. And if you can't accept that, you ain't going to last. Like if you can't accept that you're going to be competing for your job every single year, regardless if you're high paid, if you're in the middle of the road, whatever, unless you're a fully 100 million guaranteed type of guy, you truly are fighting for your job every single year. And if you can't continuity, everyone get on board with that, then you're not going to be around anyways.
200%. Exactly what Jay said, because if you try to start a fight with the new guy right away, everybody's just going to be in a big war, and it's going to be a problem. Like, instantly, we are sad to see people leave, but you're still excited to see the new guys come in and maybe even meet new friends and stuff like that, and just things that you've heard from other people. But I think at times, people have the misunderstanding, like, we are there to work together. And if the boss man upstairs said, hey, you got to compete for your job this year, then you're competing for your job. It is what it is. Like, dude, I remember every year, it would always feel like we were all competing for our jobs. Like, nobody was ever like, oh, you're safe. No line coach was ever like, listen, you don't have to work this year. You're good. Like, it was always, everybody always had to move their ass. Everybody was always had to do more. It was great though, but that's what made the NFL the NFL. And Jay's right. If you didn't like it, they found out quickly and they booted you.
Yeah, how I think the thing I'm curious about is you sign a new contract, and now it's like you're moving to a new city with your family. And is there outreach early? Like if take the Vikings, they bring in the 2 Colts offensive linemen. If you're Brian O'Neill, are you reaching out to Will? Are you just waiting until you run into each other in the weight room, or how does that work?
No, you'll get their number and you can reach out to them. Or like I remember when I came here, I got everybody's number and reached out to everybody and said what's up. But for the most part, you definitely want to reach out and say hello. You don't want the first time you see someone to be in OTAs. That would be awkward. Like you want to get to break the ice a little bit. Unless it's someone like obviously not in our room, then it would be like I don't really give a shit who they are.
It's more your positional room.
It's really just your positional group. Like if we signed a new O-lineman,
I wasn't reaching out to a DB like, welcome to the team.
The new slot cornerbacks.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you, dude. Like the first day he'd show, I'd be like, who the fuck is that guy? And they'd be like, oh, we signed him in free agency. I'd be like, why? These guys are stupid. We need another one? Okay. That's interesting. It was great. No, but the minute you sign someone in your room, guys are always reaching out right away. And everybody was always friendly.
I remember I was pissed when they signed Boone.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
I was hot because I thought I was going to have a chance to come compete for the starting left guard spot, right? Like looking at the room, looking how things were working out. I was like, okay, there's going to be an opening in left guard. And then the free agency signing, right? Boom, Alex Boone, 26, whatever it was. I was like, well, I'm not starting at left guard anymore, right? So there's always a little bit of that. But I wasn't mad at Boone, right? Like if anything, you just understood what your job going forward was. Like, okay, he's going to start at left guard. Like there's no doubt about that, barring terrible injury, whatever it might be. I'm still going to go push him as hard as I can because I'm going to play like I want to be a starter because that's how I'm going to make this football team, right? And that's the mentality you have to have when the big free agency comes and you're a depth piece that thinks you're going to be in that. If you just go and look at it like, oh, I'm not going to play, then you're going to be cut. You're going to be gone, right? And I ended up having to start that year for multiple guys at right guard, right tackle, left guard. Like you just have to have that mentality going in. You can be pissed about the situation, but if you let that emotion control how your attitude and everything goes through it, you're toast to start with.
Boone's walking around. Who's leaving all these banana peels on the ground as I'm walking through?
I met him in the parking lot of the Town Place Inn and Suites. I'll never forget. Yeah. What's up, man? I'm the Rhino. Who? Alex. Oh, got it.
You introduced yourself as the Rhino?
Oh, of course.
To Jeremiah?
Oh, of course.
That's how he signed his contract. Rob Brzezinski had to come down and be like, you can't do this.
It needs to be Alexander on paper here, or our business office.
The Rhino's fine.
Just draws a picture of a rhino on the signature.
I remember your argument was it's how I signed for my house.
It's like, yeah, no, we're good. I signed my house like that too. It's okay. It gets paid. Don't worry. They don't complain.
From 28 Dead Poet. For you guys, have you ever felt targeted as an offensive lineman by an opposing defensive coordinator? Like we're going after you with twists and stunts because we feel like there's an advantage there. Could you ever tell that you were being targeted?
I mean, this might be a really cliche answer, but I always kind of went into the game thinking I was being targeted so that I felt like I had to move a little bit faster. But, I mean, you don't really think you're being targeted. It's really, are they targeting away from the slide? Like, really, that's what they're looking for. So the minute they hear lucky, they know the right side is probably getting a twist. So once I was in Frisco, I realized that we would probably be sliding to the left more than to the right, obviously, because that was his blind side. And so it was kind of like, okay, we're going to have to deal with a lot more twists over here. So we always kind of like used to, AD and I would push each other to be like, wow, we're the redheaded stepchildren on this team. And we were loved just as much as everybody else. But at points we had to prove ourselves and we felt like we were being targeted and we would go after the twisters and shit like that to shut it down. Because a lot of times, and we've talked about this, if you don't shut that down, it's going to continue the rest of the year. And you do not want that. Like I remember in preseason when I played here with Khalil, I think we had 12 twists in the first half of the Seattle game.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like we passed every one of them off. And I remember thinking if we didn't, the rest of the year would have been miserable. But sure as shit, Matt got hurt like the next week and we never played together again. But it's one of those things where they're going to test you when the slide's going away and you just better be ready for it.
Yeah, I think it's not as much feeling individually targeted as much as you know what you put on tape. And any defensive line coach or any defensive coordinator worth their salt is going to test that, and they're going to pressure point it every single week. And so a lot of the opponent scouting for the week before is also self-scouting from the week before of what did we put on tape, because we better get that fixed. If not, it's Pandora's box, right? If it was, hey, we didn't get the run-throughs, right? Hey, on double teams this week, we missed 4 different run-throughs. You better believe next week those linebackers are going to test if we can get off on the run-through. Right, so a lot of it is not like an individual targeting piece, but you definitely had to go back and look at hey, what did we do wrong last week? Because they're going to try it. Right. And vice versa for defense, right? We would look the defense, go, hey, what did they get burned on last week? We better press on that and see if they got it fixed. If not, we're just going to exploit it again. Right. That's the chess matches between the coordinators and the positional rooms of that game planning piece, not just the X's and O's, but how do we also pressure point on what gives this team struggles?
I feel like cornerbacks are the ones that if there's a position in football that gets picked on,
yes,
it would be
the backup cornerback.
A veteran cornerback sees that a backup comes in the second quarter, and it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Devontae,
a guy gets hurt, right? A guy gets hurt, and they run the nickel, and he's doing the high knees out on the field to get himself warm, and you're just giving that look like
ball's going to him next.
Go.
Yep.
Go. He's going to hold you. He's going to grab you, right? Or you're going to be wide open. It's one of the two.
Yeah. Let's go. Nick here says, what do you, this might be more of an Agent J question, but what do you guys think about the collective bargaining agreement and the NFL Players Association as entities? Whenever people talk about these things on sports shows, it sounds like everyone's just complaining about them. The CBA especially.
I love the CBA. I think it's great. I think the CBA, if you get to know it, it's not really hard to understand. You kind of has to be, I mean, I feel like they really dumbed it down when you sat in those PA meetings. Like they try to go over why things are the way they are, and a lot of it is because they explain this every single year. As the guys before us didn't have it as good as us, so a lot of it is like, hey, listen, the more we can try and get for ourselves and for each other. Now, I'm not gonna lie. If you sat down and read the CBA, it'd be really hard. But after living in the life for a long time, you learn to really appreciate it, and it's a lot. Yeah. But
is that the CBA?
That is
Think
the
about that.
collective bargaining agreement.
This is what's crazy, though. That
You're
started as
highlighting things.
as nothing.
This is what you have to pass to become an agent. You have to pass a test on the collective bargaining agreement. This is our law, right? This is the governing law of the NFL. And it's why so many people that are lawyers and whatever think they can just come in and be agents. No. There's certain language that you have to understand. What's accredited? What's an accrued season, right? What's the difference between being on NFI and IR? Does that account for certain things, right? I agree with Booney. I love the collective bargaining agreement. Are there things I think we can push to be better on?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. But the capital B billionaires, they have a lot of really good lawyers too, right? They have a lot of really good counsel.
They're really
that goes
good
to war
counsel,
on
dude.
these things all the time.
And I will say this, dude, that collective bargaining agreement at one point was nothing. And now look how big it is. And that's from guys like us that stood up and were like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. That's stupid. Like, we need a fair shake in this, or we need to do this. And a lot of that was like Gene Upshaw and those guys who were just not afraid to go out and be like, no, this is fucking stupid. Like all the holdouts and the lockouts and the strikes, they needed to happen at some point.
No.
And it's crazy because this was actually brought up to me at one point. The fans are always kind of pitted against the players by the media because they're kind of like, well, look, this guy's making a ton of money. How could he not want to go to work? And as a normal fan, you're like, that's so true. But the common reality is we're a lot closer to the fan than the owner is. But you continue to side with the owner every time something goes wrong, which drives the players nuts. We are your neighbors. You're not neighbors with these billionaires. They don't live on normal streets, okay? Stop it. It's the same thing when you go to your work and you get mad at your boss. It's the same thing. The nice thing is nobody drags your fight out through the media and says, oh my God, can you believe so-and-so fought so-and-so at the water cooler? Like all you hear about is all this stuff. And you're constantly like, I hear it all the time. People are like, can you believe these players? I'm like, yeah, I can. It's really hard to get this job, and the minute you get it, you don't take shit from anyone. That's how this goes. But at some point, somebody had to stand up and go, we're not taking any more shit. And the rest of us had to be like, okay, and we have to be firm on this. Like, that's what's so hard about the NFL and trying to be a part of the PA is that you have to be firm. Like, I remember multiple times people were trying to like, hey, we should go and do a strike. And it was like, but you can't. Because you can't guarantee that every single 1,500 one of these players is not going to show up. Because if even one guy crosses the line, even one, the whole thing is wiped, right? Because once that one guy crosses over, well, now the whole thing is done, and all of a sudden the teams are going to be like, now we have him, and if you rest of you don't report, you're all fired. Like, and instantly you're like, why'd this one guy go back? Probably because they enticed him, or maybe because they used to go to the younger players and be like, if you guys don't show up, we're going to cut you.
We'll cut you.
And instantly it was like, well, you can't do that. And it was like, oh, yeah? Says who?
Says
and all
who?
And all of a sudden it was like, we need a fucking CBA. We need to control this. We need to regulate this. Now, I will say this. This shit has gotten out of control. At some point, they crossed over a line where they were like, well, we don't want to get hurt. And it was like, well, what the fuck are we doing out there on Sundays? Getting hurt, stupid. Like, you have to prepare yourself to get hurt. And at some point, to be great in this game, you have to beat the shit out of yourself. And that's where OTAs went way down. And that's why all this has become such bullshit. And all of a sudden, first 4 games of the season, everyone's like, don't count those. Don't count those. And it was like, I don't ever remember coaches going, don't count those. I remember coaches going, it's fucking live day. It is bow up drill. And it was May. And you were like, but I'm not wearing any pads. And they were like, sucks to be you, kid. Get your ass out there. And you were like, okay, I'll figure it out. Like, we've come so far that now everything is a walkthrough. Right, wrong, indifferent, whatever it is. The CBA is actually really cool. And I understand people don't get it. But when you do get it, you're like, that makes sense now. That makes sense as to why they treat us like this. I totally get this. Or why they do what they do. Or why they say what they say. Or why the language is the way the language always is. Like, it just makes sense when you read the CBA, which is really fun once you get down to the nitty gritty of it.
Which I did. And I studied my tail off for a year. And
you have to be
well versed in it. You have to understand, because there's a lot of stuff that teams will try and pull over on you. There's stuff that teams try and slide into contracts that set precedent, right? It's very much like, Lord, like
don't set a precedent. Don't do it.
Or anything you try and push back on, like, I don't want to set a precedent for that, right? Because we'll go back and we'll look at contracts and we'll look at the way things were treated and be like, well, the Commanders did this last year. Why can't we also do this year in this contract or this, that, and the other thing? There's just a lot of moving pieces that go into it. The PA, on the other hand, I have mixed feelings about the PA. I think everything they want to do is very good, and it's a lot of sunshine and roses and kisses, and we're going to do all these things. They just don't have the bandwidth nor the manpower to do all the things that they need and say that they will do, and that's just what I'll leave it with on that.
Yeah, on the CBA front, so you don't have to be a lawyer to be an agent, right? You just have to pass the exam.
Certified.
But a lot of agents have lawyer backgrounds, right? Can you parse all that apart?
So a lot of agents have lawyer. It's really just being able to identify and read contracts, right? And because most of the contracts in the NFL are pretty ironclad when it comes to standard contracts, it's the addendums and that type of thing that you have to be able to read through and see and catch and make sure there's no errors and where the numbers and that type of thing are stretched up. But no, you don't have to be a lawyer, right? Because, like I said, I don't have to
Rosenhaus is an agent. You think he's passed the bar?
Like, I don't have to pass. Like,
fuck out of here. God.
Like, this is
Jay, tell me about the bar exam.
This is my
That's
law.
the bar exam right there.
This is the bar. If you can know this and pass it, it's
You're
great,
good.
right? And the thing that screws people is the agent exam is an open book test. It is. It's an open book
still
test.
Fail.
But the problem is they fool you with that. They say, oh, it's open book. And they're like, oh, okay, I don't even need to study. I'll just be able to find it. But then if you don't know where to look, you don't know how to apply it.
It's timed, right?
It's timed.
Okay.
Right? And it's not just the CBA. It's the agent regulations. It's the PEDs. It's the SOAs. It's like all the other stuff we have to deal with. And so they'll give you a gazillion materials. And then you're like, oh, I have to be able to find all this within 90 minutes or however long it took.
Yeah. Dude. Is it hard? Is it hard?
It was like a 30% pass rate. It wasn't hard.
30% like of people.
Hard. Yeah. It wasn't hard for me, similar like because I lived it. Right? Half of the stuff in there I lived through. Right? I lived through going on IR and did that count to accredited season or not? Or I understood how to do the rookie reservation pool or all that stuff. Like, for me, I didn't think it was hard. Right? Did I have to study and make sure I was on my P's and Q's so that I didn't get messed with anything? Absolutely. But it wasn't like, I remember I passed it the second I hit submit. Right, I called my partner Zenner, who we took at the same time. I was like, "Hey, congratulations!" He's like, "Congratulations," because I knew they didn't tell us till September. But like, I was so confident when I turned it in. I was like, "There's a 0% chance I failed that," which is not how most people are. Most people are like, oh, "I don't know," and you can only take it once a year.
Guess
you
your
can
way.
only take
luckily.
it once a year.
You know, I took a Spanish language placement class from high school to college. You're supposed to take a language in college or whatever. And they make you do a 30 question test to see how much of that language you know, so they can place you into it. And I remember taking that test as like an 18-year-old, and they make it hard on purpose so that they can weed out who shouldn't be in a 3,000 level class. And I remember wildly guessing on probably 25 of the 30 questions because I was like, I don't know. And I must have guessed so well that day. And they placed me in like a 3,000 level Spanish class.
Oh my God.
And the first day of class, the instructor says, this will be the last day you're allowed to speak English in my class. And I'm looking around like, holy shit, are you serious? And everyone else is super chill.
Yeah.
And I remember walking up to the instructor saying, I think I'm in the wrong class. Like, well, you tested in here. Why don't you just stick it out? And I don't know. God, I somehow
stick
passed
it out?
I just they give you grades for doing presentations. So if you can crack a couple one-liners and make the instructor laugh, you're good. But
So wait, you did Spanish, Jay. What did you do in college?
No language in college.
You didn't do any language? Nebraska doesn't care about second language. Wow. Mine was Romanian.
We speak American here.
Wait, Romanian?
Romanian. Yeah, there was a lot of us that took Romanian.
How much of it can you still recall?
Bueno ziwa. Ce mai face.
Oh,
dude, there was so many.
Are those curse
like,
words? Do you just remember the curse words?
No, it's hey, how are you? No, it's kind of like Russian. It was actually really funny. It was a good time. We had a good time. I could not do Spanish. I'm sorry, I just couldn't do it anymore.
I did Spanish in high
Romanian
school.
wasn't-
I did Spanish in high school.
Yeah, so did I. That's why I just couldn't. I wanted to change it up.
Yeah.
So
Jay's like, I speak West Coast offense.
Yeah.
That's the language I
Donde
speak.
está
I
la
speak
biblioteca?
football, stupid. What are you talking about? It's Nebraska.
I
We speak American here.
Have you seen the 9 to 5 team? Oh my god. Went from 6 to midnight.
This is another new segment, actually. Every single week, we're going to give Jay 60 seconds also to just reminisce
about
about a
Nebraska.
random Nebraska football team.
The 1971
90.
national championship team.
Tom Osborne. Oh, let's go.
Oh, you are such a
You guys know
loser.
Brooke Behringer, right?
Hey, click that
I
like
love
button and the subscribe button on the O-Line Committee YouTube channel here. And so
great.
we'll see what the second wave of free agency brings. Can't wait for next week's As the Aaron Rodgers World Turns update, too.
Yes.
All right, for the Rhino, for Jay, I'm Phil. This is the O-Line Committee. We'll see you guys.
F1 China Grand Prix this weekend.
God.